The conflicts in the ruling bloc in Turkey gets deepened. Each day there is a new operation. Dismissals and repositioning of police officers released audio recording videotapes. After the statement of the Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan over the weekend, a voice recording about the assassination of 3 Kurdish women in Paris has been released. The video was uploaded onto YouTube on Monday, featuring what was reportedly the voice of Ömer Güney, the main suspect of the murders. The recording contained a conversation between Ömer Güney and 2 MIT agents over plans to murder Sakine Cansız in Paris. The conversation included details about how to organize the murder, the guns, how to leave the crime scenes, and etc.
Şeyin dikkatini çekti mi? Güvenlik güçlerinin Fransız polisinin
Evet.
dikkatini çekti mi?
Evet, yoğun takip var. Her iki istihbarat.
A warning at the beginning of the video and the transcription of the words Avram as Ablam Sakine Cansız in the subtitle proves conditioning of the audience was aimed at the preparation of the video. However, some people who know Güney well enough, reached by ANF, has confirmed that the voice is featuring Güney. The information in the recording has also mostly been confirmed. Commenting on the voice recording allegedly featuring Ömer Güney, co-president of Kongregel Remzi Kartal told that a new phase was opened in the investigation into the murders. MIT and therefore the AKP governments are now directly the suspects of the murders and called for justice for a comprehensive investigation. Kartal, who is also being pointed as a target in the sounds record, pointing out that the Turkish intelligence service MIT and the ruling AKP government bear direct responsibility in the murders. He said the French justice should have opened a new investigation for Ömer Güney. Commenting on the conflict between AKP and Gülen movement, Kartal said the conflict would get deepened in the coming period. The peace process has been initiated by our leadership over a year ago, and there is no solution of the murders after a year. And now Gülen movement points to MIT for the murders. This proves that the movement aims to deepen the conflict between the AKP over MIT. But the claims of the movement might very well be true, but it might also be the contrary. It might be a provocation to constrain MIT and AKP. We know well enough how the movement and etc. But we also know well enough the correlation between them in the past. It was this coalition that launched a comprehensive war against our movements after the elections in 2011. The responsibility now falls on AKP government and MIT to clarify whether it was the forces related to the movement who organized the murders in order to provocate the public and to nullify the peace process, or it was the continuity of the policies that effectuated in 2011 in coalition with the movement and therefore was commonly planned in that period. AKP government should share all the information and documents with the public and help the investigation if they want to prove the innocence. The public opinion and our people would otherwise hold the Turkish state, the AKP government and its intelligence service and deep dark forces responsible for the killings of 3 Kurdish women, said Kartal. In addition to the recording, the newspaper Sol Left published a confidential internal MIT circular on Tuesday. The newspaper added underneath that the document was made to reach to them via email. The document dated November 2012 mentions a source living in Paris who provided a tip-off about the activities of the Kurdish Communities Union KGK, the PKK and the Kurdistan People's Congress Kongregel. According to a circular, MIT gave the source €6,000 and asked him to make preparations for sabotage and assassination, provide the necessary equipment for this operation. The circular said the source could be used in an operation to neutralize Sakine Cansız. The document bears the signature of MIT Turkish Intelligence Services Head of Department Uğur Kanayık, as well as of 3 other executives, Y. Yüret, S. Asal H. Özcan. MIT denied that it was behind the assassination of 3 Kurdish women in a statement released on Tuesday. In the statement, it was asserted that the claims are meant to disparage the Turkish intelligence agency, which has been playing a crucial role in the settlement process in Kurds. However, the statement does not assert that the documents was fake or modified. Selahattin Demirtas, the co-chair of the BDP, said the statement of MIT was far from being convincing.
Two senior Al-Qaeda members have been captured during Tuesday's simultaneous operations in 6 provinces in Kurdistan and Turkey. Al-Qaeda senior member in Turkey, Halis B., along with the second in command in the Middle East, Ibrahim S., were among the 28 people who were detained. Some 3 high-ranking names for Al-Qaeda have reportedly escaped to Syria before the operation. Anti-terror and intelligence teams reportedly launched an investigation 15 months ago when they detected Al-Qaeda was reorganizing in Kurdish city Van. The detained suspects are facing charges such as sending people to fight in Syria, helping to transfer of Al-Qaeda members to come from Afghanistan and Pakistan, collecting money to help Al-Qaeda, providing and distributing aid and weapons to be used in attacks in Syria, Pakistan and Afghanistan, and organizing illegal actions. Police raided on a local humanitarian relief foundation, IHH, branch as part of the simultaneous operations which were conducted in 6 provinces, including Istanbul, Van, Kilis, Adana, Gaziantep and Kayseri. Only a few hours after the raids, 2 anti-terror police unit chiefs, who were among the teams who planned and carried out the operation, have been dismissed by government of Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The IHH released an official press statement the 14th of January concerning the raid, saying the operation was aimed at preventing the IHH from sending humanitarian aid to Syria. Last week, it claimed that large amounts of arms and ammunition have been discovered on a truck taking aid to Syria, which carried by some organization Humanitarian Relief Foundation, IHH. Truck was being stopped twice by the police, first near a gendarmerie outpost on the Reyhanlı Kırıkkan Road and again on the Murat Pasha Road. The police had been prevented from searching the truck's cargo by an official statement from Governor Celalettin Lekesiz, who said the cargo was a state secret. Syrian Kurdish PYD party co-chair Salih Müslim has stated at a press conference in Paris that the Kurds will not participate in the Geneva II conference unless they are represented and the resolution of the Kurdish question is on the agenda. Müslim added that a meeting that did not address the Kurdish question would be like a second Lausanne. At the press conference, Müslim also spoke about Rojava revolution and said their aim is to produce a democratic solution for the whole Syria. We share his statements with you.
And as everybody know, our Kurds in Rojava is a little bit different from all other Syrian people because we followed a different strategy for our struggle against the regime. Because of that, there are a lot of people wondering what's going on in the Kurdish issue and Kurdish case, and in Rojava we were struggling against the regime since 2004 by Sarhildan Kamishlo, and our struggle was continuing till 2011 when the Syrian revolution started. So because of that we couldn't follow all what they are doing. I mean the regime and the new groups we find behind the screen. There are some other forces like Salafists and those extremist streams. So because of that we didn't we didn't go to that side. What we have done is just to protect our areas, to organize our people, to make us able to defend ourselves by our special organizations, and you are seeing the results what happened. At the beginning we had some attacks from the regime and we had clashes, and in one battle in Aleppo we lost about 47 people in one struggle, and we of course, we had many clashes against the regime in Kobani, in Afrin, and in Al Jazeera. And then when we could spread, the regime forces out of the Kurdish areas, it was in 19th of July 2012. And then we started to face another attack in our area. It was those Salafis, which supported by Turkey mainly. Until now, then maybe it's almost about 14 months, we are struggling against those extremists in our areas. 1 year passed about our experience in this field. We just submitted a project, self-ruling project for democratic self-ruling project for the Kurdish areas, for Rojava. And our aim is to share everybody, to share all the components in that area, which we have Arabs, we have Assyrians, we have even Turkmens in our areas. So it was a new project, and it's democratic project, everybody knows. So because of that, we just was about 2 months ago, we had a meeting. There was 82 individuals, persons from all the components, and there were about 35 organizations, Kurdish organizations, Arabs and Syriacs and the others all shared in this meeting, and they decided to make a kind of project, for the areas. So there were three committees. One of them is to make a social agreement between all the components. What we call this could be like a constitution for the areas, and then the election rules, the elections rules for these areas, how to be and how to manage these areas. So there was 3 committees to decide all this, and just few days ago there was an announcement, and the social agreement was agreed by these committees, and it was submitted for signature for all this meeting, for the people, and they decided to make an election in as soon as possible.
Here is the detail of the press conference.
In spite of that, and everybody knows, in Syria, who could stand in front of those extremists, especially, there are those kind of extremist Al-Qaeda and so on, Jabhat al-Nusra and this ISIS. We are struggling against them, and nobody can stand in front of them except the Kurds. We are struggling against them since 3 years. Since 1 year. And maybe the losses they have made, maybe in fighting with us, is more than everybody else. And we did not allow them to come to our areas. Nobody could stand in front of them. So they are ignoring everything. And they don't like even this Kurdish Supreme Committee to be represented in this conference. All of them are not represented in the coalition. This coalition, we can say, is artificial by mainly the Western countries, and they are just trying to consider them as representing all the Kurdish, the Syrian people. This is first, and secondly, there is another question, which is the representatives of the Kurdish people. There is no Kurds are going to be represented, and even the Kurdish issue is not going to be discussed in this Geneva meeting. We think the Geneva conference in the 22nd of January is just going to be maybe show, nothing more. Everybody is going to make some speech, and everybody goes to his home without solving anything for Syria. And all the problems will start after that. And because of that, we just warn everybody. And we, as NCB, we had the executive office of the NCB. Today we had a meeting, and we decided to explain everything to our people, to say we are not going to Geneva because this Geneva is not representing the Syrian people. In Geneva, you can see the representative of Saudi Arabia, you can see the representative of Qatar, representative of Turkey and England and France and everywhere, and United States and Russia, but there is no representative for Syrian people.
مجروحين وما حد يداوينا ولا جانا ليسأل علينا رغم الجرح رغم الهم رغم الجرح ورغم الهم نواسي الناس وما حد يواسينا.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said half of the Syria's population, some 9.3 million people, now urgently need humanitarian aid. He was speaking at a donor conference in Kuwait, which is seeking $6.5 billion over the coming year for Syria. It is the UN's biggest ever request for a single crisis. Ban Ki-moon said the conflict had set back Syria years, even decades, and he was especially concerned about violence against women and girls and by reports of starvation among besieged communities. No country, no people should face hardship or calamity for helping Syrians in need. It is vital for this region and our world that the burden is shared, he said. Some 6.5 million people are now displaced inside Syria. More than 2.3 million have registered as refugees across the region, many living in camps which are barely coping. The UN says more than 100,000 people have died since the uprising began in 2011. By late on Wednesday, the conference had raised $2.4 billion in pledges, including Kuwait $500 million, Saudi Arabia $250 million, Qatar $60 million, United States $380 million in new contributions, European Union countries as a whole $753 million, Norway $75 million, the UK pledged a further $164 million, bringing its total contribution to $985 million. Those pledges represent roughly a third of the amount the UN says it needs.
According to a report released by Worker Health and Work Security Assembly, at least 59 child workers were killed from work-related injuries in 2013. The report also cited that at least 1,235 workers were killed on the job in 2013, with child workers' casualties making up the 4.7% of this toll. As the report is drafted upon news articles and information from labour organisations appeared on the media, the toll may rise up to 5.4%. Out of 59 deceased child workers, 18 were aged below 14 and 41 between 15 and 17. The report cited, according to regulations in Turkey, anyone who has filed the age 14 and not yet turned 15 with elementary education are considered as child worker. However, it continued those who have yet to turn 18 are considered as young worker. On the other hand, International Declaration of Children's Rights consider every child under 18 as child workers. The distribution of deceased child workers according to sector was listed as follows: agriculture 25, metal 8, trade 8, construction 6, textile 4, food 2, chemistry 1, mining 1, command 1, communication 1, general 1, and undisclosed 1. It turns out that 25 children worked in agriculture while 23 worked in industry and 10 in service sector. According to an annual report, a National Children's Rights Strategy document released by Family and Social Policies Ministry, there are currently 1,247,893 workers' children between the ages of 6 and 17. The toll made up 20.6% of the entire population in Turkey. The number of child workers turns out 292,000 for 6 and 14 years. According to this report, half of the child workers weren't schooled. Another report TÜİK in 2013 cited that the percentage of those who had a work-related accident in the past 12 months turned out 2.3% compared to the whole workforce in Turkey. 63.7% of those workers, the report concluded, have been out of work for an indefinite amount of time.
On 11th of January, tens of thousands of protesters marched through the streets of Bilbao in southern Basque country in order to support of jailed members of the Basque group ETA, defying a court ban from Madrid. A high court judge had vetoed the march, which was initially organized by prisoner supporters to call for inmates to be moved to jails closer to their homes. The treatment of ETA prisoners is an awkward one for the Madrid government, which would be certain to anger victims' associations if it made any concessions to the prisoners. ETA prisoners' demands to see out their jail terms in the Basque country could advance after they said last month they would recognize Spain's criminal justice system. Euskadita Askatasuna, which means Basque homeland and freedom in Basque, called a ceasefire in 2011 and decided to stop armed struggle. Even that, about 600 ETA members are still in prison in Spain.